They say the hours before dawn are the darkest, not just literally, but spiritually. There's something about that pre-dawn darkness that feels different, heavier, like the world is holding its breath, waiting for something. I never believed that. Not until one morning changed everything I thought I knew about fear. This isn't a ghost story. There are no demons, no supernatural entities lurking in the shadows. But I promise you, what happened to me on that misty morning was more terrifying than any horror movie you've ever seen. Because it was real, because it could happen to anyone, because it almost ended very, very differently. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened on that corner in that alley in those 7 minutes that felt like 7 hours. This is my story, and I'm sharing it because maybe, just maybe, it might save someone else's life. Let me take you back to that morning. It was a Tuesday, or maybe a Wednesday. The days all blurred together back then. I was coaching a high school team, and our practices started absurdly early, 6 a.m. sharp, which meant I had to leave my apartment around 5:15 to catch the bus, grab my usual Starbucks, and make it to the school on time. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. 5:15 a.m.? Who willingly does that? But here's the thing about routines. They make you feel safe, secure. Every morning, same time, same route, same everything. I'd done this walk probably 200 times before. My neighborhood wasn't the safest in the city, sure, but it wasn't the worst either. It was normal. The kind of place where you keep your head down, don't make eye contact with strangers, lock your car doors, basic city survival stuff. That particular morning, I remember waking up groggy. I'd stayed up late the night before binge-watching some show. Isn't it funny how we forget the mundane details but remember the terrifying ones with crystal clarity? I went through my usual routine like a zombie. Shower, coffee, black, 2 sugars. Threw on my coaching gear, oversized basketball shorts that hung past my knees, a baggy hoodie, beat-up sneakers, and a baseball cap. I looked ridiculous, honestly, like I was drowning in my older brother's clothes. But it was comfortable, practical. I wasn't trying to impress anyone at 5 in the morning. I grabbed my bags, backpack with my coaching stuff, purse with my wallet, keys, phone, and on my way out, I snagged a banana from the fruit bowl on my kitchen counter. Breakfast on the go. The banana would be important later, though I didn't know it then. The moment I stepped outside, I felt it. That early morning cold that bites at your face. It was late fall and the temperature had dropped overnight. The sky was still pitch black, that deep darkness that makes you feel like you're the only person awake in the entire world. And the fog. God, the fog. It had rolled in thick overnight. The kind of fog that swallows streetlights and turns familiar streets into something alien. Something from another world. Each streetlight created this eerie halo of yellow light surrounded by gray nothingness. I started walking, peeling my banana as I went. My mind was already racing ahead to the day. I was debating with myself, should I grab my Starbucks before the bus or after? If I got it before, it might get cold, but if I waited, I'd be running late. Stupid, trivial thoughts. The kind of mental chatter that fills your brain when you're half asleep. I had no idea that in about 3 minutes, my internal debate about coffee timing would be the absolute last thing on my mind. My route took me down 3 blocks to the bus stop. The first 2 blocks were relatively well lit, residential. The third block had this corner. You know the kind, where the street light is just a bit too far away, where there's an alley that cuts between 2 buildings, where you walk just a little bit faster without really knowing why. I'd walked past that corner hundreds of times. Nothing had ever happened. Nothing was supposed to happen. I was about halfway through my banana when I reached that corner. The alley to my left was just a dark void. The fog made it impossible to see more than a few feet into it. I barely glanced at it. Why would I? It was just an alley. Just darkness. Just another Tuesday morning. And then, he stepped out. At first, my brain didn't process it. You know how sometimes when you're tired, it takes a moment for reality to catch up? That's what happened. I saw a figure. Tall. A black mask covering his face. He stepped out of that dark alley like he'd materialized from the fog itself. My first thought, I swear to God, this was my actual first thought, was, oh, someone's out for a jog in a ski mask. That's weird. My sleep-deprived brain was trying to make sense of something that made no sense. Because this couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to people like me on ordinary Tuesday mornings, 3 blocks from home. Then he shouted, "Put down your fucking purse." The words hit me before I saw the gun. Or maybe I saw the gun and the words at the same time. I don't know. Everything suddenly got very sharp and very surreal all at once. Like I'd been underwater and suddenly broke the surface. The gun. A handgun. Black. Pointed at my face, at my head. I could see down the barrel, I could see his hand wrapped around the grip, I could see his finger near the trigger. Time did that thing it does in moments of extreme fear. It stretched and compressed simultaneously. Every second felt like an hour, but everything was also happening too fast for me to think. My heart started hammering. I could feel it in my chest, in my throat, in my ears. Boom, 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 like a drum, like a countdown. Put down your bags. His voice again, aggressive, angry, but also controlled, like he'd done this before, like he had a script and he was following it. Okay, I heard myself say. Okay, I'm putting them down over here. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, high-pitched, shaky. The banana was still in my left hand, half-eaten. I set my backpack down, then my purse, slowly, deliberately. My hands were sticky with banana juice. I could smell it. Isn't that weird? In that moment of absolute terror, I could smell banana on my hands. Walk over here. He gestured with the gun toward the alley, toward that black void behind him. Get down on the fucking ground. And something in my gut twisted. No. Every survival instinct I had started screaming. Not the alley. Anywhere but the alley. But he had a gun, and I didn't want to die. So I said, I'm coming. Okay. I started moving toward him, slowly. My legs felt like they weren't my own, like I was piloting a body from somewhere else, watching myself walk toward this man, toward that alley, toward something I knew in my bones would be so much worse than a robbery. And then I did something I still can't fully explain. My mouth just kept talking, like it had disconnected from my brain. Look, see, I'm on the ground, I said, even though I wasn't on the ground yet. My stuff is over there. Please just take my stuff. Shut the fuck up, okay? His voice exploded. Angry, frustrated. I'd broken his script. He didn't like that I was talking, and then he was on top of me. I don't remember fully how I ended up on the ground. Did he push me? Did I fall? I was suddenly on my back on the cold, hard pavement. I could feel the grit and dirt against my jacket. The fog swirled above me, and he was on top of me. His knee on my chest, his weight pressing down. The gun to my temple. I could feel the cold metal against my skin. This was it. This was how I died. On a street corner, 3 blocks from home, with banana on my hands and the taste of fear in my mouth. But then, something changed. He looked at me, really looked at me. And I saw something shift in his eyes through that mask. Confusion? Realization? Remember how I said I was dressed like a dude? Baggy clothes, hat, flat chest, hidden under layers, in the dark, in the fog. I looked like a teenage boy, a scrawny kid, but my voice gave me away. I swear to you, I felt the moment it clicked for him, the moment he realized I was a woman. His body language changed, his breathing changed, and then he did something that made my blood run cold. He got off me, stood up, and pointed toward the dark alley. Come, with me. Those 3 words. Come with me. And I knew. God help me, I knew. I need to tell you something about my neighborhood. In the weeks before this happened, there had been news reports. A series of sexual assaults, women attacked during their morning jogs. The guy was still out there, never caught. And now, lying on that ground, staring up at this man pointing toward that dark alley, all those news reports came flooding back. This wasn't just a robbery. This had never been just a robbery. My stomach hurt, actually physically hurt, because I understood what come with me meant, what that alley meant, what would happen if I walked into that darkness with him. And in my head, 2 voices started arguing. Voice 1, there is no way you are going down there without a fight. Voice 2, but he has a gun, he will shoot you. Voice 1, better to die here on this street where someone might find you than whatever happens in that alley. And through all of this internal screaming, I heard the real voice, his voice. Fucking follow me! Louder now, angrier, impatient. So I did what had been keeping me alive this whole time. I talked. I'm coming, I called out. I'm following you. I started moving, small steps toward him, toward the alley, and he believed me. That was his mistake. See, he was so focused on getting me into that alley that he turned, just slightly, turned his body toward the alley, turned the gun away from me, just for a moment, just long enough. I saw my moment, my one chance, and I knew I had to take it. Every muscle in my body tensed. I took the deepest breath of my life, tucked my head down, chin to chest, and then I ran. I exploded backward, away from him toward the street. My legs pumped, my arms swung. Every ounce of energy I had ever possessed went into those first few steps. Because I knew if I wasn't fast enough in those first 3 seconds, I was dead. I heard a sound, high-pitched, screaming. It took me a moment to realize it was coming from me. I was screaming, some primal, animalistic sound of pure terror. I didn't look back, couldn't look back. Every second I spent not looking where I was going was a second I could trip or fall. Was he chasing me? Was he aiming? Was I about to feel a bullet rip through my back? I ran harder, 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks. My lungs were on fire, my legs were screaming, but I didn't stop. 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks. The fog and the darkness and the adrenaline turned the world into a blur. 7 blocks, maybe 8. I couldn't run anymore. My body simply stopped. I collapsed against a building, gasping, shaking, waiting for the gunshot that never came. Silence. Just me. Just my breathing. Just the fog and the darkness. He hadn't followed me. I was alive. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds. Minutes. Time had lost all meaning. Eventually, my brain started working again. Slowly. I needed to get home. But where was home? And then a terrible thought. What if he was still there? What if he'd seen which direction I ran? What if he was waiting, watching, learning where I lived? I took side streets, doubled back, took the longest route possible to my apartment. I kept looking over my shoulder. Every shadow was him. Every noise was his footsteps. When I finally made it to my apartment building, I stood outside for 10 minutes, watching, waiting, making sure I wasn't followed. Then I ran inside, up the stairs, into my apartment, and locked every lock. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone to call 911. The operator's voice was calm, professional. She asked me questions I could barely answer. Where did it happen? Was I injured? Physically? No, not a scratch. But I felt like I'd been torn apart and badly put back together. The police arrived within 20 minutes. 2 officers. They took my statement. We walked back to that corner, and I pointed to the alley with a shaking hand. They went in with flashlights. I stayed on the street. No way was I going near that alley ever again. When they came back, one of them was holding something. My banana peel. Of all things. My half-eaten banana left behind on the ground. The only physical evidence that this had happened at all. That it wasn't just some nightmare I'd imagined. They took photos, said they'd patrol the area, said I did the right thing by running, and then they left. I didn't go to work that day. Called in, said I was sick. I spent the day on my couch, lights on, door locked, curtains drawn. I called my mom. Heard her voice crack with fear and relief. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound was him breaking in. Every creak was his footsteps. I kept my phone in my hand, 911 ready to dial. The next morning, I didn't go to work either. It took me 3 days before I could even think about leaving my apartment. When I finally did venture out, I took a different route. I never walked past that corner again. Never will. For weeks, the adrenaline wouldn't leave my body. I'd be sitting at work, and suddenly my heart would start racing. I'd feel his weight on my chest, the gun at my temple. The police never caught him. That alley was a dead end. No cameras, no witnesses, no evidence except my testimony and a banana peel. For all I know, he's still out there, still robbing people, still hurting people. That thought keeps me up at night sometimes. I'm sharing this story not for sympathy, but because maybe it could help someone. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, remember, trust your gut. My gut told me not to go into that alley, and I listened. That decision probably saved my life. Make noise. I screamed while I ran. Attackers hate attention. They thrive on silence and compliance. And run. If you see an opening, take it. Yes, he had a gun. But going into that alley was a guaranteed bad outcome. Running was a chance. A risk, but a chance. I'd be lying if I said this experience doesn't haunt me. It does. I still can't eat bananas without thinking about that morning. I still avoid dark alleys. I still look over my shoulder more than I should. But I'm alive. I survived. And mostly I'm haunted by the what-ifs and not the what-dids. What if I hadn't run? What if I'd gone into that alley? What if he'd caught me? I don't know the answers, and I'm grateful I don't have to know. They say the hours before dawn are the darkest. I know that now. I've seen that darkness. I've felt it. But dawn always comes. The sun always rises, and somehow we find the strength to keep walking, even if we take a different route. Stay safe out there. Trust your instincts, and remember, you're stronger than you think, especially when it matters most. This has been my story. Thank you for listening.